This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures, BibleGateway.com, and it reads, Matthew 24 and 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Matthew 24 and 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Matthew 24 and 8 through the Holy Scriptures, and it reads, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makarkadash. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone for pushing his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered in the four corners of the globe, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I say shalom.
Launched a new air attack on Ukraine's capital overnight.
Officials in Kyiv say all 18 missiles were intercepted, but falling debris did cause some damage in the city. At least 3 people were injured.
CBS News foreign correspondent Deborah Patta joins us now from Kyiv, Ukraine. Deborah, those images look they look apocalyptic. Yeah. Tell us what more we know about these strikes over Ukraine's capital, and why is Russia choosing to pick up the pace at this moment?
Well, I can tell you that we were woken up by those apocalyptic images here in the early hours of this morning in Kyiv as the city came under that massive aerial attack. The sky lit up. We heard a lot of loud bangs. But as you say, Ukraine's air defense system held firm, and in fact, all of those missiles were intercepted. It was described by one official as an exceptional onslaught. It involved drones, cruise and ballistic missiles fired from different directions, and it's the 8th attack on the capital this month alone. But what it did show that, according to the commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, Valery Zaluzhny, that Ukraine is able to effectively take out missiles with its new systems. It shot down all of those 18 missiles, which were launched from land, from sea and air. And Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Oleksiy Reznikov, called it an unbelievable success. It seems to have been a rather complex attempt to destroy Ukraine's new US-made Patriot air defense systems, which arrived in the country courtesy of Washington and Berlin just a few weeks ago.
Deborah, I now want to turn to a remarkable investigation that you spearheaded that we saw this morning into the Russian private army that's called the Wagner Group and its dealings in Africa. This is the same group with ties to President Vladimir Putin that's heavily involved in the war in Ukraine. Can you walk us through your findings?
Well, in a nutshell, Wagner, these Russian mercenaries under the leadership of Yevgeny Prigozhin, fighting, as you mentioned, in the war in Ukraine, particularly in that bloody battle for Bakhmut, have been waging a campaign of terror in parts of Africa long before they rose to prominence in Ukraine. Our investigation, which focused on the border route between neighboring Cameroon and the Central African Republic, looked at how these mercenaries are claiming they protect CAR's government from being overthrown by a coup, but in fact are plundering the country's natural resources, gold and wood, in order to fund their criminal and paramilitary enterprises. You'll remember, of course, that the US declared Wagner a transnational criminal organization, and they are heavily sanctioned as a result, including Prigozhin's galaxy of shell companies. And we actually have footage of Wagner mercenaries protecting the president, manning roadblocks on the transport route between CAR and Cameroon, and there's even a statue honoring them. But residents say it's not like that at all. There is no protection, and that in fact they are ransacking the company for their resources. The man that we spoke to was in fact tortured by Wagner mercenaries. He was so worried about speaking to us in CAR that he traveled all the way to Cameroon to do the interview, saying Wagner has eyes everywhere. And he explained how they have a cargo flight once a week that flies out the gold. There are trucks that cross the border to Cameroon's port of Douala. We filmed those trucks secretly, visited the port posing as buyers, and have documents to show how Wagner just keeps changing its name of its front companies to avoid detection and evade sanctions. And this model is repeated in Mali, in Libya, in parts of Sudan, with Wagner eyeing places like the DRC, the Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso.
Incredible.
Deborah Pata, just critical work. Thank you. You can watch more of Deborah's report tonight on the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell, which starts at 6:30 Eastern on CBS.